All hell is breaking loose. A Russian ballistic missile just struck and destroyed a U.S. factory in the heart of Kyiv. The plant belonged to Terminal Autonomy, a Delaware-registered American company that specializes in building precision deep-strike drones equipped with advanced AI guidance systems specifically designed to beat Russian electronic jamming. These were not ordinary drones. They were the kind of weapons that can continue flying and hitting targets even when Russian forces try to cut all communication links. This marks the first confirmed Russian strike on a U.S.-owned defense company operating inside Ukraine since the full-scale invasion began. No one was killed in the attack, according to sources close to the company, but the factory itself is gone, completely destroyed. The message from Moscow could not be clearer. And right as that news is still spreading, Donald Trump is publicly saying he most likely will not grant Ukraine the license to produce Patriot interceptors, the very system Ukraine desperately needs to stop the constant barrages of Russian ballistic missiles. These interceptors are the only reliable defense Ukraine has against the high-speed ballistic threats Russia has been launching in increasing numbers. Without them, Ukrainian cities remain extremely vulnerable. Trump promised that exact license just a few weeks ago at the NATO summit. He sat right next to President Zelensky in front of the cameras and said the words clearly, "We're going to give a license to you to make Patriots." Pretty cool, right? Zelensky confirmed the deal publicly. He called it an important and historic political agreement. Their teams began working on the details almost immediately. Zelensky even held meetings with Lockheed Martin executives, the company that produces the missiles for the Patriot systems, to discuss joint production, technology exchange, and how quickly Ukraine could start manufacturing these critical interceptors. This past week, Zelensky returned to Washington and walked into the White House once again. After the meeting, he spoke to Axios and made the urgency crystal clear. He said Ukraine needs at least 300 interceptors before winter arrives, or it could become a very dark and dangerous season for the country. Russia is now firing 30 to 40 ballistic missiles in every major strike package. The volume is rising. The pressure on Ukrainian air defenses is relentless. Zelensky stated that during their Tuesday meeting, Trump had agreed to move ahead with the Patriot production licenses. The Ukrainian side left the White House believing the commitment was still intact. Then the tone changed. Trump spoke to the Financial Times and suddenly sounded far less certain. He said he has not decided yet. "We're looking at it. It's a very extraordinary weapon, and we have to be a little bit careful who we license it to. We don't really license equipment." A short time later at Camp David, he went even further in front of his cabinet and the press. "We have not agreed to that. We're talking about it, but it's a hard thing to give away that kind of technology." He added that people who receive such technology could one day turn against the United States. "We've been watching this pattern carefully. Trump makes a big public commitment when the cameras are rolling. Zelensky and European leaders lean in. NATO officials start preparing. And then, when the need becomes most urgent and the pressure is highest, the commitment softens or disappears. Now he is calling the license very valuable and openly questioning whether Ukraine should receive it at all." In the Oval Office, he was asked what he actually wants from Zelensky. His answer was simple and revealing. "I just want to see him stop the war." That line keeps coming back. It raises the obvious question: stop the war on what terms? This entire shift is happening while Russia continues pounding western Ukraine with heavy strikes. Lviv has taken repeated hits from ballistic missiles and drones. Infrastructure has been damaged. Civilians have been wounded. And during that same large-scale attack wave, at least one Russian missile crossed into NATO territory. It was a Kh-101 cruise missile that flew into Polish airspace and came down in a field near the village of Tarnawa Kolonia in the Lublin region, roughly 90 to 100 kilometers inside Polish territory. The impact left a crater approximately 10 meters wide. Air raid sirens sounded across Lublin. Polish fighter jets scrambled. NATO forces were only seconds away from engaging the missile, before they assessed that it was going to impact open ground with no immediate threat to people or critical infrastructure. Prime Minister Donald Tusk confirmed that the missile was almost certainly Russian. Yet Poland has deliberately downplayed the incident. There has been no invocation of Article 4 for formal consultations. There has been no talk of Article 5. Tusk stated that once it became clear the missile would not hit anything important, they chose not to shoot it down. Many observers believe Warsaw is being extremely careful because they are not fully confident that Washington would stand firmly behind a stronger NATO response under the current administration. The timing makes the situation even more striking. Zelensky had been in the Lublin area earlier that same day meeting with Polish officials. Russia knew this. They sent missiles toward western Ukraine and allowed at least one to cross the border into Poland. They watched how NATO would react. They collected the data point they wanted. Then, almost immediately afterward, they struck a US-owned factory in Kyiv. And within days, Trump's public language on the Patriot license shifted noticeably. Meanwhile, Ukraine is not sitting still. It is hitting back hard and deep inside Russian territory. In the last 48 hours, Ukrainian FP-1 and FP-2 long-range strike drones have been flying extremely low over multiple Russian cities, slipping past mobile air defense teams. Footage from Ryazan shows these drones moving with precision through defended airspace. Another strike hit a major wild berries logistics hub in Saratov, more than 1,200 kilometers from the front lines. Wild berries is essentially Russia's version of Amazon, a massive civilian logistics and distribution network. Ukraine has stated that these large centers are also being used to support military logistics. The fire at the 90,000 square meter facility in Penza was enormous, with thick black smoke rising for hours and visible from far away. Another wild berries distribution hub in Volgograd was completely destroyed. High-resolution satellite images clearly show the scale of the damage. A Russian fuel train heading toward occupied Crimea was also struck and disabled. Separately, high-resolution imagery has confirmed the aftermath of an FP-5 Flamingo strike on a Russian military production plant located more than 1,000 kilometers inside Russia. Russia is not fighting this war with its own weapons alone. Iranian-designed Shahed drones continue to be launched in large numbers. North Korean ballistic missiles and artillery systems are also being used. North Korean soldiers have been deployed on the front lines for months, taking heavy casualties in some sectors. When Zelensky was asked by Fox News whether Ukraine is currently winning, his answer was measured and direct. He said the fight continues. The pressure Ukraine is applying to Russian logistics and production is real and growing. But the critical shortage of advanced air defense interceptors remains the biggest vulnerability. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk delivered a particularly sobering assessment after his conversation with Zelensky. He said the next 100 days could decide the outcome of the entire war. He put the current chances at roughly 50-50 and stated that much depends on the decisions made by the President of the United States. He even mentioned the importance of systems like Starlink and other dual-use technologies that sit outside pure politics. When a senior NATO leader frames the coming months in such stark terms, it is a clear signal of just how fragile and decisive this period has become. After the NATO summit, Zelensky had posted that he and Trump had reached an important deal on the licenses to produce Patriot systems, and that their teams were already working to implement what he called a truly historic political agreement. After the more recent White House meeting, he repeated the same message and held follow-up discussions with Lockheed Martin. Then the public messaging from Washington changed. The certainty disappeared. The language became cautious and conditional. The reality Ukraine is navigating right now is that pledge can be treated as fully locked in. Deals can shift. Commitments can soften. That is the environment in which Ukraine must continue to fight and plan for the winter ahead. Russia has just demonstrated that it is willing to destroy a US-owned defense factory on Ukrainian soil and send a missile into NATO territory while carefully testing the alliance's reaction. Ukraine is answering with deep, precise strikes against Russian logistics hubs, fuel supplies, and military production. The central question hanging over everything remains the same. Will the Patriot production license, the one Donald Trump publicly offered weeks ago in front of the cameras, actually move forward before winter sets in? Or will Ukraine be forced to face the coming months without the one system that can reliably stop Russian ballistic missiles? We will continue following every development closely as this situation evolves. Hit subscribe if you want the latest updates as soon as they land. Thanks for watching.